was right on out of the gate was China and recalibrating our relationship with the Communist Party of China. What's your view of the Congressional China Task Force that's going on right now, and our relationship to China?
Well, one of the I'll say silver linings that could come out of this COVID crisis is the fact that it's time to rethink our relationship with China and realize that although they can make iPhones cheaper than Mexico can, free trade. I'm a free trader by nature. I'm a free trader. Here's the problem: free trade only works when the two parties are acting in good faith. And in the case of COVID, and more largely in the case simply a totalitarian dictatorship that only has its best interest up as an adversary to us. So I'm interested to see what this China task force comes out with, but it clearly needs to address a couple things. One, how did the COVID crisis happen? Two, how can we protect our own supply chains from exposure to that kind of risk, particularly our pharmaceutical and protective equipment supply chains? Three, how do we prevent intellectual theft from the Chinese? And then, how to, especially in space and cyberspace, because the Chinese are expanding in those areas and they pose a real risk to our national interests if they continue their expansion.
Is there a danger in overstepping this recalibration and creating a too cold of a war? I think we're going to have a consumer cold war at a minimum coming up. I think consumers are going to go, it's not going to buy from China this year. Sorry, fellas. Can we overstep that too much?
Well, consumer choice. I'm not going to second guess the,
not the consumer side, not the consumer side, but the policy side. Like there's a danger of going, yeah, we're going to really hit them hard. Like, whoa, wait a second, that's 1.5 billion people there,
Well, yeah. So, Chris, a brief walk down history lane here, memory lane in history would be really critical. So, right after World War I, what do? We put in a bunch of sanctions and punitive stuff against the Germans, and you'll never do this, and you must not do this, and you started a war, and on and on and on. And what did they do? It started. I mean, the post World War I order to stick it to the Germans started World War II. And I'm not willing. I have twin sons, as I said, who are 12, and I am unwilling, if it can be avoided, to 20 years from now, when my sons are 32, to have them carrying rifles in a foreign country. So the idea of being so stiff on the Chinese now that it causes a Cold War that then ends in a hot war is much worse than having a little bit of, as you said, calibration. I think it's a perfect word. So sticking it to the Chinese has a intuitive appeal, but a quick walk down memory lane or history lane will show you that the results of that could be a world war, frankly, and that's horrifying. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, the one term that comes to mind is Alan Greenspan's when he was talking about the economy, irrational exuberance. We don't want to be, I think, going down this road of vengeance with the Chinese. I think we need to get to the bottom of what happened. I think most people want that. I think they're looking for a reasonable response to this. But we do need to be careful that it's not that, in fact, we're angering the Chinese, but it's a very, very large player economically in the world, especially in some very important areas, South China Sea in particular, the trade routes, all those different countries there, and the level of nationalism that goes on between those countries. There's not a lot of good blood between those Asian countries, and lighting a war over there would be catastrophic.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Clearly.
Damn it, you're supposed to follow up with something there. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna,
That's okay.
but I think we covered it. I think we got it.
Yeah. Okay.